Hello everyone, hiya and welcome to Saturday. Oh my gosh, we're the something or another about the 19th, 20th of March already. We're so far into this year already. Gosh, who is to say? Anyway, welcome. As you know, my name's Emily Baker. For those of you who haven't perhaps seen my lives before or don't know what I do or anything like that, I'm a spiritual medium and a psychic artist, as well as being a complementary therapist. So this part of the month, the second half of the month, I tend to talk about more of the spiritual side of things rather than the complementary side, which is what I start the month off. I thought that was only fair to do it that way around. So hopefully you're all okay, that you've all had it's beautiful weather today. And we've had beautiful weather for the last couple of evenings as well. So this life, I've entitled it that we are spirit, which is an interesting one, isn't it, really, to say that we're spirit. And you can take it on so many different levels. I mean, I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days of, which way am I going to go? So if you have any questions or that, you've got any viewpoints, please put them up. I'd love to hear about them as well. Okay, so where do I come into us being about spirit? Now, I look at it as though we're all energy, and some people will say yes, but then you've also got to look at people such as Jesus, and we've got to have a look at Buddhas and all the rest of it, and all of the other types of religion. But it comes back to that essence of who we are. And I feel as though that we are very much interconnected. And how can I prove that to you? How can I say and get you to sit there and kind of go, okay, we're all interconnected. So what I'd like you to do is just if you're sitting down, fantastic. If you're going to be standing, please hold on to something, because I just want you to take a couple of moments. So best if you're sitting down, if you're actually standing up. And we're just going to take a couple of deep breaths. And just release that breath through your mouth. And just gently exhale through your mouth. Okay. So just find that stillness within yourself. And this isn't meditation, this is just finding your stillness. And I can already probably guess that there's about 500 people kind of going, oh my God, there's so much going through my head. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But let's just concentrate on the breathing. Nothing more, just concentrate on the breathing. Fabulous. Now, in concentrating on the breathing, we're also concentrating on who we are. We're looking for that stillness within us. Now, if you talk to a scientist, they'll probably say that we're all made up of stardust. Technically, we are. If you have asked somebody how we are made up of, biologists that tell us that we're made up of skin, bones, and chemicals, etc., and atoms and neurons, etc. So it really depends upon who you ask as to the answer that you're going to get. Hence why I go and say that we are all spirit. The question needs to be is, what is spirit? Now, spirit is also can be seen as being that life force, that person, seeing it as being perhaps their soul. And it could be all of that. I also see it as part of their energy force. Now, for me, energy just doesn't disappear. And that's the same when we die. It just doesn't disappear. It transforms, doesn't it? If we have a look at energy in the form of a drop falling into, or you take a drop and you put it into, that drop falls into a bowl of water, and then you have the ripple effects, but the ripples go underneath the water as well. Have a look at the way waves are created, as well as tsunamis, unfortunately. So we have this unseen energy force that transforms. We transmute our energy. Our energy becomes into everything that we touch. Everything that we touch, or every footstep that we take, we leave a footprint behind. And I don't mean the carbon footprint. I mean that spirit energy, that life force, that energy that's within us. There's a part of us left there. And so when you are asking a medium or even a psychic, and you ask them to do psychometry, now for those who are not sure about psychometry, psychometry is taking something. For instance, I'm wearing some rings, and you say to them, okay, take a ring. And you hand over the ring, and they hold the ring. They're holding to see that energy. They're grasping hold of that energy. And then that's what they're picking up on. Is that melding of energy. Can this be expanded? Not just to innate objects such as rings and watches and necklaces, for instance. Can that be bigger? Yes, it can. I know that I felt it. And I know people who are not necessarily spiritual, or if you like, they're not mediums. However, they're aware of energies, can feel how energies can affect them. So, for example, now, a lot of the time, I like to talk about things that I've experienced. And I will talk to some other friends of mine and say, did you feel that? And they go, yes. Yes, we did. So I know it's not just me, and I know that it's not just me feeling like I'm totally doolally. So here we go. Before lockdown, no, during lockdown. During lockdown, so much that happened during lockdown. Every day was like, oh my God, we've got another thing and we've got another thing. But I remember standing on a side of a hill and I was walking my dog. And it must have been lockdown because the whole town was really, really quiet. And it was coming up to kind of like, okay, you can have certain easements. And it was coming up to a January time. Okay, so must have been last year, 2021. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh, we're going to be back into lockdown. Numbers were going through the roof. And with that, even before the lockdown was announced that, yes, we're going to have a lockdown and all the rest of it, I stood on this hill. And I have to say, there wasn't anybody around at the time. And I just stood and took note that I could feel the fear, the worry, the concern. Not mine. I knew that it was coming. I wasn't worried about it. But it was almost as though I could feel everybody else's. So yes, you can interact with others, with that spirit, that energy. Can that energy affect you? Yes, it can. I know that I can feel, without realizing it, other people's energies. And I mean mass people's energies of that fear, that concern, that worry. Then that gets mutated into me and it comes out in a different way. Sorry, if you can hear footsteps, that's my dog walking around. So, you know, I can feel all of that going on. But are we interconnecting? Again, I would say yes, because, and some people say, well, okay, that's sympathy and empathy. And it's not necessarily sympathy and empathy. It is actually you are mixing your energy and you sending it out there. Okay, so around us we have this energy field. And around us we're always constantly, it's moving. It's moving. So I haven't got anybody here. I'm in a safe space, so I can open it up if I wish to. And then I can open up and expand it and allow, and then my energy will touch somebody else's energy. And I kind of go, oh, okay, they're feeling like this and they're feeling like that. You've probably come across that when you're perhaps standing in a queue or in a shop or, you're walking around the place. So that's part of that spirit. Okay, so I'm seeing it as an energy force. That spirit is that energy. So can that energy be bigger than just the room or the queue or the building? Yes, it can be. Remember that energy doesn't just disappear. Okay. So if there's any of you out there, please do say hello. Hello. Love to hear what you're thinking already about what I've spoken about. Because here we go, a little bit bigger. And for some of you, you're probably going, oh my gosh, it's going in really, really deep. And I don't mean to, but we'll continue. So this energy force gets bigger and bigger. Okay, so it can expand. Okay, so can it just be human to human? No. No, it isn't. Because, or any of you who have owned pets, you will say, oh yes, I know. I know exactly what my pets are feeling, and I know what my dog is feeling. Oh no, he's really sad. But they also pick up on how we feel. So sometimes I know that my dog's been really clingy to me to the last couple of days. I mean, really, really clingy. So either that he's really missed me because I wasn't really around the previous day, and so he wants to make sure I'm going to be around, wants to make sure it's going to be okay. That's absolutely fine. Also, my cat is also, his mood has changed and he's also becoming clingy. But also my emotions, I've kind of needed that comfort as well. So they're picking up on my energy, my spirit. And there is that form of communication going on, knowingly, unknowingly, however you want to look at it. So hello, please, if you have got any comments, love to hear what you're thinking. Now, when I started out in spiritualism, if you like, and I used to go to a spiritualist church, which was at that time the only thing I knew because it was the only place where I went. Now, I sat in a service and I looked and I thought, okay, I'm going really a bit doolally. Really going a bit doolally. Even for me, I kind of sat there and I went, I'm a bit concerned now. Not had this, not seen this, not experienced this. Should I be really worried? Luckily, the president of the church, who I knew, was there, and she was lovely. And I kind of went, afterwards, after the service, I went up to her and she was talking to this gentleman. And I went, I need to have a word with you. She went, okay. I said, I think I'm actually going a bit mad. Now is really a good time to send in the people with the white coats. And she knew I had always struggled with spiritualism. And I know some of you are kind of going, yes, but you're a medium. It doesn't mean that you don't struggle with it. Okay, so she asked me what the issue was. I'm not going to tell you yet. She asked me what the issue was. I then went on and said what the issue was. She said, perfect timing. And I went, great, why? She said, well, the gentleman standing next to me, he's a pagan and he's going to be able to help you and answer your question. She said, if you were to ask me, I'd say, yes, you are mad. And I went, okay, thank you, great, cheers, love you too. My question was to him, because hi Dan, lovely to have you here, hello. My question was, and what I was experiencing throughout the service was I could see these two plants in this small bowl. And one was an ivy and one was a polka dot plant. And literally I could see, so let's have that as a polka dot plant and this is the ivy. And the ivy was literally swaying in and out. The polka dot plant was slightly moving. There was no breeze, by the way. And it was just, I could see this ivy plant just moving. And it was kind of going in and out near to the polka dot. The polka dot plant, when it came in, it went retracted and came back out, retracted in, out, and it was slightly moving. And there was this kind of like a dance going on. So when the polka dot went like this, the ivy went like that, and vice versa. So they were doing this kind of like a swaying motion. And this is about the only way I can describe it. Sorry, it looks like a crab or an octopus, whatever you want to call it. But yes, anyway, that was... Anyway, right. Moving on. Get distracted like a cat. And that was my question. And I said, but I could see this happening. But more than that, I could hear them talking to each other. And they're saying, what do you mean you could hear them? And I said, they were having an argument about the space. Because the ivy was saying, I'm stronger than you and I want the space. And it wanted the space to actually kind of spread out. And at the same time, the polka dot plant was going, you're not going to have this space, mate. I'm going to be here. You know, and it was this fight for a space of the roots, if you like. And it was kind of, that was my first experience of actual plants communicating. But me being able to hear the plants and me being able to have that interconnection with them and know what they're saying. And have I had it since? Yes, I have. And now I have a really healthy respect for actual plants and things. So if I'm going to go and do some weeding out in the garden or pruning, cutting back anything, I'll go up to the plants beforehand and say, I'm going to have to cut you back. I'm really, really sorry, but you're going to love it because it's going to be all nice and fresh for you afterwards. But I really do need to kind of hack you back a bit. You know, you just got a little bit too rambunctious. Come on, we're just going to have a haircut. Be fine, you're going to grow again. Be absolutely fine. So yes, I do talk to plants. My true experience, my own experiment of this was, and I've talked about it many times, but I'll say what the story is again, is that my mum had a magnolia, and it was a grandiflora, i.e. so it has its leaves all year round, and that it could flower any time of the year. Mostly in spring, along with all the other magnolias, so around about this time, March, April time. And hi Alorna, hello. And so therefore I could see, you know, this tree wasn't blossoming, and my mum said and it was already a kind of a semi-mature tree, so it was over 5 years old. Magnolias don't tend to flower till they're about 5-6 years old. So my mum had had it for a couple of years, and she was now getting a little bit frustrated because our patience is basically the same. We don't have any. And she was saying, right, if that tree doesn't blossom now, I'm going to have to get rid of it. I said, you can't get rid of it. It's a lovely tree. Yeah, no, it keeps on dropping its leaves, and no, it's just not. I want it to flower. I want it to flower. So fine, fair enough. And what I did was, therefore, when she pronounced this, that she was going to cut down the tree and get rid of it, every time I would arrive and visit at my mum's house, I'd go up to the tree and say, you're a beautiful, beautiful tree. You need to flower, because if you don't, my mum is going to cut you down. And we really just don't want that, because I know you're a beautiful tree and I know you really want to flower. But please do flower. Please flower, because my mum's not really best pleased with you. Every time I left her house, I would go up to the tree, go to the trees and stroke the leaves, and I'd say, you're a beautiful, beautiful tree, but please flower, please, please flower, I beg you. I don't want you to be chopped down, I don't want you to be killed or anything, but please, my mum may have to move you, and it may not be a happy ending, but I love you, and you're beautiful, and I know you're going to flower. So this continued for about a good 3-4 months that I did this. Every time going up to the tree, telling it it's beautiful, telling it it's wonderful and all the rest of it. Asking it to flower, because otherwise my mum was going to get rid of it. Now, one of the rare times that my mum ever phoned me, because she never phoned me, And if she did phone me, I knew it was an emergency. But she'd phoned me on this particular morning. I said, what's that? Are you okay? Is everything all right? She said, oh, yeah. She said, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. And I said, what's the matter? What's the matter? She said, it's flowering. The magnolia's flowering. Now, she had seen me going up to the tree, and she asked me, what are you doing? I just said, I'm just being nice to the tree, just telling it I love it. And she went, uh-huh. Okay. Now, she's a gardener. Do you know what I mean? So even she was a little bit sceptical about this, but she was shocked that now the magnolia was suddenly flowering, and it would. She said, "I can see a bud," and oh my God, there's more than one bud, and literally over the next few days, this tree was flowering. But when I went up to visit, I said, "Thank you, you beautiful flowers. You've got such beautiful flowers," and it flowered even more. Now, the following year, because I was looking after the house and the garden and stuff, I did give it a lot of feeding. I overfed it. However, I also did tell it was a beautiful plant. So I don't, when you can overfeed something, plants can kind of go, hang on a minute, I can't deal with this, like we do. We become like the beached whales, don't we, on our sofas when we've had a little bit too much. But this tree actually flowered continually for over a year while I was there. 'Cause every time I went up to it, when I was leaving the house, coming back from the house, to the house, going out shopping, whenever, I would always tell it was a beautiful plant. That is my experience. I would say give it a go yourself. Do have a go. Just see what happens when you are connecting with that plant. Have a look at it. And how can I also describe it? That this spirit, we're all interconnected. Another story for you, a tulip tree. Now, tulip trees grow massively tall, absolutely ginormously tall, beautiful, beautiful trees, and they have flowers. Well, they're actually bracts, which is not really a flower. Leaves that are shaped to look like flowers, but they're not really flowers. I know. I'm not a botanist. Anyway, so there was this beautiful tulip tree. If you ever go to Stansted Hall, go to it. I believe it's still standing. And one night, literally, a load of us went up there and we just hugged the tree. And my message that I got from the tree was, during the day, I give, but at night I will take, or vice versa. And literally, as I walked back to the hall, because this was in the middle of the grounds, obviously, I could feel the roots under the ground moving. Now, for me, that was absolutely such a moving experience to feel the roots of this massive tree moving underfoot. Hello, Hilary. Lovely to have you here. So yes, it was a lovely experience to have. So yes, we can connect with animals and their spirit and their energy. We can connect with plants and their energy, and we can connect to ours as well. We're not just tied into this feeling of like, oh gosh, we're alone. We're not. We're interconnected. The other form of looking at it is think of prayer. We're in unison. And if you don't do prayers, that's absolutely fine. Maybe you send out healing, and you send out that healing to people, and people will come back and say, I could feel your healing being sent to me. Those thoughts of, please look after them. And I know when I before I even started out, and when my grandparents visited me, and that was my start of my communication, I suppose, of knowing I could communicate, was that I went and said, please go and look after Jeff's mum. She's really poorly. She's not well, but can you come back and let me know how she's getting on? And I asked him how she's getting. He said, yeah, no, actually she's doing really quite well, which tied in with what my grandparents were doing as well. So yes, that healing is transformational. But so are our thoughts. Our thoughts are living things. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. That our thoughts of happiness, of joy, of excitement, but also of fear and worry and concern, all of those things that are going around at the moment, we are all able to pick up on that. So sometimes when we're kind of like, I feel a bit weird, it may not be you, is what I'm saying. It may be the energies around you that you're picking up. And I do have a caveat on this. I really do. I am not going to say those who have got mental health issues shouldn't have that support. Definitely, please keep your support there. And I know people who have got quite severe mental health issues, and I would never for one moment say, no, you should not have counselling and you shouldn't take the tablets and blah, blah, blah. Absolutely. But this is another part of it. This is perhaps a part of it that is also needing support, is also needing to know that we're all interconnected. And there's a wonderful book I just want to tell you about. It's called The Mutant Messenger. And it was a book that was recommended for me to read by a lovely gentleman who's sadly passed away, I believe. And his knowledge of different types of books was wonderful. And he said, Emily, you need to read this book. And I went, okay, all right. And I said, what's it about? And he said, just read it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but just read it. And it really does explain about the spirit and what spirit is and how words don't necessarily transmute. Okay, they don't cross the boundaries. If you think about it, we help so many different people who don't perhaps speak our same language and vice versa, and those people in other countries. I know when I've kind of visited other countries and they don't speak my language, we're still able to communicate. They're still able to pick up when I am sad or scared or worried or happy and joyful or wanting that knowledge. Our energy from within us, that's what I feel is our spirit. And it just doesn't dissipate when we pass away. It's still there. And that's what a lot of us mediums are picking up on as well. It's that energy force. And that energy force will also pick up all that is going on around. Trouble is, and there is a trouble, and I'm using it right at this very moment, and that's Wi-Fi, the electronics, the radio waves, the amount of stuff that is in the air is so thick at the moment, and it is really thick. Luckily, Spirit are finding a way around that, and at times using that as well as a form of kind of like, okay, we'll use that as the energy pack to communicate. But I am also aware that we have filled up our airspace. The air that we breathe is full of electronical noise, if you like, that we can't hear or feel or touch or perhaps sense, but it is there. And you know, we try to escape that and go to the wilderness. Some people want to go into the wilderness and not have that noise. Unfortunately, that noise still follows us. It's still there. And I'm not saying it's for a bad thing, just saying how we've progressed has created that, okay? And that can be a barrier, and it can be to kind of be heard over radio stations. Think how many radio stations there are just in the UK, and then if you think about America and multiply that, because each county and each area will have a radio station and they'll have a radio station, then you have the national radio stations. You see where I'm going with this? Same here in the UK, so we have all of that, and then we have people using their phones, we have people using the computers, and we have all of the pilots flying their planes and they're using the radios and the Wi-Fi. Then we have and then there's television and all the rest of it. So there's a lot happening. Does that also send us misinformation when we're sending out our energy and we're sending it all out? Yes, I would say yes. We can be picking up on a whole batch of stuff where we kind of go, whoa. So my next question to you is, how do you know it's your feelings? I know. After all of this, I go and say, okay, how do I know it's my stuff? and not somebody else's stuff. Okay, that part I'm still learning. Parts of it I'm kind of getting used to it. I kind of go, whoa, hang on a minute. This isn't my stuff I'm picking up on. This feeling sad or worried or concerned. And especially when I stood up on that side of that hill and I overlooked Ludlow and I kind of like, oh, okay. I then knew then that wasn't me. That was everybody else's stuff that I was picking up. And I went, right, okay, this isn't me. This isn't my stuff. Let me put it over there. Okay. And I still do that from time to time. I do a check-in if I kind of suddenly get overwhelmed with something. Kind of go, is this my stuff? Or is this everybody else's stuff? And at this time, we do need to kind of be a little bit more focused about, okay, we need to be centralized. We need to kind of be aware of what our feelings are. Be aware of how we're communicating. Be aware of our energy, of our spirit, of how we're sending it out as well. So those are kind of my thoughts on being spirit, and we are spirit, and that we are interconnected. And you know, we often have thoughts of our friends perhaps on the other side of the country or on the other side of the world. So you know, can it travel far? Yes, it can. And sometimes you'll phone up a friend and go, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. You've beaten me to it. So there we go. So that, yes, that's another sign of saying, yes, we are interconnected. We are thinking about it. The thought is a living thought. The thought has got over there. They're thinking about me, but I've acted on it. They were going to act. And, you know, it's that little bit of a race. So are we all interconnected? Yes. But that interconnection also goes further than from human to human. It goes from human to plant and plant to human, from human to animal and animal to human. And then also from animal to plant and plant to animal. That whole diversity. And now let's have a look at the actual rocks and crystals. Okay. So now this is a bit where I kind of go, ooh, okay, would love to have your thoughts on this one. So I do feel that crystals do have an energy format. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. And I think I've said that before, that I do feel that they do have that. If anyone was to have this ring, I'm quite sure they'll kind of go, hey, that's Emily's ring. Okay, fair enough. It's a nice moonstone ring. But also they'll probably kind of go, oh, it's got energy. It's holding that energy. It's kind of being a battery pack. For me, quartz is very much like that. So I'm actually on the lookout for some bits of crystal at the moment, actually, to help with that. Because I do feel as though we can actually put in energy and use them. And before you say anything, for those who are not aware, crystal radios, just like to say crystal radios. Radios were using crystals as the form of the battery pack. You would have a quartz watch. Quartz watch means that there was a piece of quartz in the watch because it's magnetic. So quartz watch, okay. Now also there are I'm not sure what they're called, spirit radios, if you like. And basically they have large pieces of crystal on them, I think mostly quartz, again. And they're used as the transformers to to pick up those waves and to do all of that, to actually get hold of the spirit voices. So crystals can also hold that energy format as well. So I don't know if you've got any questions for me or anything like that. I'm just going to see if you've all kind of enjoyed it. Hello everybody who's watching. And again, my name's Emily. If you're wanting to know a little bit more about what I do, please go onto my website, which is emilyjbaker.co.uk. There you can book a reading with me. You can book a therapy session with me, reflexology or aromatherapy. I don't do counselling, by the way. But yes, I'm happy to help people. If you've got questions, drop me a line. You can do that through there as well. You can sign up to a newsletter. Oh my gosh, the amount of advertising I'm doing here now. Shameful. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's on my website that you can have a look at as well. So yeah, so hopefully you've kind of I've given you food for thought about spirit and that we are spirit, that we are interconnected, that we're not just here as perhaps individuals, that we are actually, we're almost like that army of ants, but the army of ants still listen to each other, and at times we tend not to listen to each other, and we forget to listen to ourselves, more importantly. So hopefully, please give yourself that little moment of being able to listen to yourself, and just take a few moments of a day and just kind of go, okay, is this me or is this somebody else's stuff? Do I need this stuff? Okay, can I let go of it? And trust me, I'm saying this as though it's really easy to do. And I'm going to say, oh yes, what we need to do is be central and all the rest of it. I'm going to say, oh great, yeah, that's great. Absolutely, yes, we should be doing that. Do I think it's easy? No. And I'm being truthful. I don't think it's easy. And I'm constantly learning how to do it. And it's not easy whatsoever. But if you get to know yourself, it does. It really, really does help. Okay. So allow yourself to know yourself. And to know, that, okay, this is my stuff, that's their stuff, or somebody else's stuff, it's not my stuff. And then explore. Try taking that moment out and just looking at a plant and saying, how do you feel? Oh, you don't feel too happy. I've put you in a too small a pot, have I? And I've had a look at my plants today, and I went, oh, they're not happy with me. They're not happy with me because of where I put them, number one. And they're really not happy with me because some of them are in a too small a pot already. And they're kind of looking at me like, you're going to change me, aren't you? So, yes, I'm going to have some gardening to do shortly. But I'd like to thank you all for listening to me, joining in with me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I know this time is late, later than normal. Next time it's going to be back at 3 o'clock at the beginning. Hello, Steph. It's going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the first Saturday of the month. And I am going to be looking at relaxation. How do you know when you're relaxed? You know when you're stressed, but how do you know when you're relaxed? What's the different feeling? And if you know what it is to be relaxed and what are your trigger points for being stressed, then you're halfway there. You're halfway there. It's fabulous. So we're going to be having a look at that. So thank you very, very much for joining me this afternoon. If you missed any of it, don't worry. I'm going to post it up onto my page and it's be on my website as well. You can have a look at it, or you can go to my YouTube. I know, got YouTube as well. Who knew? Which is just emilybaker.psychicmedium, and on there you can catch up with all of the Facebook Lives, as well as my perceptionary card readings as well for each month. Have a look for March, actually, because I tend not to look back at some of them. But parts of it, I'm kind of going, ooh. And this month, I've definitely gone, ooh, at myself, because I've kind of gone, ooh, the warrior. And I know that I've talked about the warrior. That has definitely popped out. And I know there was stuff kicking off at the same time. But yes, anyway, have a look. And hopefully, if you've got any questions for me, please do drop me a line. And I look forward to seeing you next month. All of you take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care now. Bye. Bye-bye.